Anyone who's... Oh, Andrea Tessman.
Yes, Kirk Buchner.
I have a question for you.
I think I have an idea where this is going.
Probably. I mean, like, I'm a creature of habit, but you're interrupting my flow. I've got a little thing that I've got to do here. What were you doing on March 24th, 2001? And remember, this is not really a family show.
I'm going to say I was probably cramming for exams or maybe procrastinating about some sort of paper that was due.
Well, it sounds better than what I was doing. I think I was trying to avoid my ex-wife. And if you're listening, screw yourself. It ended well, can you tell? But this is what the world was doing on March 24th. the mother... 2001. Exit Wounds was number 1 in the box office. Do you remember that film?
Vaguely.
Well, I barely remembered it myself. It starred Steven Seagal and DMX, who, if they were to get together now, look like they ate Steven Seagal and DMX. Battlefield Earth won the Raspberry as the worst picture of the year. And the day after, Gladiator won the Best Picture for the Oscars. But nobody remembers that. What they remember is Bjork in her swan dress.
I remember Gladiator winning it the Best Picture. That was an excellent movie.
It was, but I remember Bjork more. Maybe because I like Bjork.
Well, sure, that swan dress is iconic.
It really was. I looked up the song she was nominated for, and then I forgot it instantly because most of these songs that go for an Oscar generally suck. And this was no different.
It was something high-pitched and mumbled.
You really went out on a limb on that one there, Andrea.
Well, that's my description of Bjork songs.
It's a pretty accurate one. But if you were listening to the radio, chances are you might have heard. I know that was horrible, but I should have let you do that one.
You know what? I got the impression that, like, you get what you're going for.
Yes. Crazy Town went number 1 with Butterfly. Their only number 1 hit.
Malay, come Malay.
You're my butterfly, sugar, baby.
So can I say what the best thing about this entire song is?
Sure.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers. The entire melody of this song is Pretty Little Ditty by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I mean, that alone makes it an excellent song.
Yeah, from the
album. It also explains why it's like a one-hit wonder chart topper, because when your entire shtick is someone else's music, it's tough to recreate that.
It is, but I'm going to give them a bit of credit though for this, because I want to go on their backstory, because they did get permission from the Chili Peppers to do that, and
for sure, yes. Yeah, royalties were paid.
Mm-hmm. And if I'm to believe a man named Shifty, I can't believe we're talking about a guy named Shifty Shellshock. Jesus. He says the Peppers loved it. And he said in an interview that I found recently that this was the first song that they allowed to be sampled. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I can't think of another.
I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure I've heard Under the Bridge sampled somewhere, but this could be the first. It is not the last time this song was sampled, though. Right up to current day, rapper Hetty released a song just exactly a month ago, featuring Pretty Little Ditty, which is really funny because if you read any of the comments on it, they all go back to Butterfly, and everybody's referencing, oh, it's Butterfly. Like, no, it's actually not.
Yeah, just a little 5-second bit from an interlude song from the Mother's Milk album. which I hadn't. I didn't even remember that's where that came from. I did do that. I learned that from my research. But I think what a big thing too was there was a comment when I looked at the official Vivo for Butterfly, and it just sort of summed this up perfectly. One commentator just said, "Wow, this really takes me back from the time when I was just downloading music like crazy on LimeWire." And you know what? So was I at that point in time. My God. Yep. And I think that was sort of the era where I stopped buying albums, like a lot of people. And it's not that I don't miss albums. I do. I love them. But there's only so much money. When you find out that you can spend so much little or so much less, nice English, Kirk, but so much less money on a vast catalog of music, or at that point, free, you're going to do it, and the artist be damned. I hate to say it, but it's true. When you and I actually were prepping to do this, or when I sort of pitched this idea to you, we were talking about how musicians don't make that much anymore, and you just support an artist friend of yours. And just tell everyone how you do that.
Oh yeah, I support my artist friends by going onto Spotify when I'm not planning on listening to music, and putting their songs on repeat while on mute. And they get a fraction of a cent for any playtime that they get. So, if I'm looping their album on repeat for an hour or two, they might get a few cents out of it, but every little bit helps.
No, and it certainly does. I think it changes too depending on what deal they have and how the certain threshold that they'll have. But this song, when I was doing the research on it, it just sort of made me realize, because at first I thought, man, I must have been getting old because I don't know nearly as much as I thought. But no, it was just the way that myself and a lot of other people were listening to music changed. I mean, it was one thing when we went from albums to cassettes and then cassettes to CDs. There was still a bit of the artwork that was important. There was the liner notes.
I used to love just like poring over those album covers and over the CD jackets, and you read the lyrics as you're listening to music, and it was a different experience.
Mm-hmm. Which is actually a perfect way to talk about the lead singer, or the lead MC, Seth Binzer, or as we now know him as, and this is with all due respect to the guy, because I really actually came to like him after listening to some interviews after. Because my initial impression was, like a lot of you, I think, listening is, man, this guy looks like a total douche.
Yes, yeah. He does look like a total douche.
And when you go by your pseudonym of Shifty Shell Shock, yeah.
I don't know why he didn't just stick with Binzer. Like, even Shifty Binzer would have been kind of funny.
Doesn't Shifty Binzer, though, sound like a bad accountant?
Really throws me off. Sorry, what was that?
Shifty Binzer sounds like an accountant you don't want to see. I regret to inform you. We've got an audit coming.
Yeah, that's very true. Never mind.
Yeah, so
your research into Mr. Shifty Shell Shock.
Yeah, so
I'm saying that 5 times fast.
Yeah, well, it's kind of what I thought it would be. So an LA kid, and we talked about like artist covers, or just like great cover art. His dad did some cover art. He was also the producer of the first big Rolling Stones documentary. So he came to his musical knowledge pretty organically. Interesting kid. He wasn't rich, he wasn't poor, but he was certainly a middle-class white kid, just into the skate scene, got into a lot of hip-hop, and got into a lot of trouble. Didn't take anything really seriously, was in and out of juvie. Actually, he appeared in Clifford the Movie with Martin Short.
Interesting. I didn't pick up on that one.
No, it's like one of those things, too. So he's a bit of a child actor, and he was scouted at actually doing a skate competition. According to Mr. Shellshock, geez. He finished third, and he got recruited by just, I guess, some a talent agent, got signed by the agency, and then on his audition, he did some rap, some breakdance. He was 11 years old, wound up doing a Levi's commercials, a Lenny Kravitz video. But, by his own admission, he didn't take a lot of that very seriously. It wasn't really his thing. He was more interested in smoking weed and playing music. Which, okay.
Makes sense.
And he kind of looked like that type. So, do you know who one of his childhood friends was?
No.
will.i.am.
Really?
That's what he claims, yeah. Got no reason not to believe him. So apparently, they became friends at school. will.i.am was bussed in, which I guess sort of tells me that Mr. Shellshock was, I guess, middle class, maybe upper class. I couldn't really tell. But his dad did well enough. And they became friends, and he would take will.i.am to rap battles where Will would usually win, and then he was discovered by Eazy-E. Now, through that, will.i.am became friends with a guy named Brett Mazur, or Epic Mazur, and Epic had this idea of trying to recreate the Beastie Boys. Will had a friend, said, well, I got a friend here for you. And that's how they hooked up, all through will.i.am.
Interesting. I did not know.
Yeah, so will.i.am's responsible for a lot of things, including unleashing a Fergie solo career. I blame you for that, will.i.am. That was horrible. I hate Fergie's solo career. It is terrible. Especially when you're singing about your humps when they're starting to sag. Learn your timing, woman. Jesus.
Oh, come on. They're her lovely lady lumps.
Check them out.
Check them out. Yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, I gotta say, the guy, not will.i.am, Binzer, had a bit of a tragic life. Like, obviously got into drugs too much, ended up in rehab and arrested over and over. He was on celebrity rehab not once but twice. And then on Sober House, the continuation of that, also twice. And Dr. Drew basically was ready to just cut him out of his life and say, I'm not helping you anymore. So that's, he obviously has his demons that he struggled with. But then also, like, I find a lot of his music, although it's what do they call it? Rap rock. Mm-hmm. But a lot of rap rock is very dark and very loud and very aggro. Think Limp Bizkit but I find that a lot of what he's putting out is actually kind of uplifting and happy songs. Like
it comes from a genuine place.
Paul Oakenfold.
Yeah.
What?
It comes from a genuine place.
Yeah, like I didn't even clue in that Starry-Eyed Surprise was him with Paul Oakenfold until looking into this. And that's it's entirely about being blitzed on drugs and partying all night, but it's a happy, upbeat, kind of fun song. And Butterfly also seems to be about doing a lot of mushrooms if you watch the video, but still it's a rap rock love song, which is really kind of unusual for the genre.
It very much is. So the story behind that, the band sort of came together in '95, or the collaboration. They didn't really get a deal until '99, and they put out their first album, which was only the first of three, because they didn't exact the Gift of the Game, what was called, in November of '99. Butterfly didn't become a hit until about a year and a half after. So they put out their first two songs. And the reviews on it, because I was reading a lot of the reviews, which were then, I guess, contemporary. Enemy completely trashed it, calling it sort of Limp Bizkit light, just really focusing on the misogynistic lyrics that they had. A lot of it written by Binzer. So the story that Binzer has said, and I found that him repeating the same story 3 or 4 times, so I'll believe it, was that his girlfriend, who actually appeared as the butterfly in the video, was sort of challenging to put out a love song, and this was as close as a version as he's going to come up with.
Well, and it really kind of is a love song. It's not the normal rap metal, rap rocks, like, what did someone say, Bitch Done Me Wrong lyrics. Like, it might be misogynistic, but that's just the style of rap at the time. Pretty much everything is misogynistic, whether it's intended to be or not. I think about a lot of the songs that I sung along with and loved at that time were like pretty horrific in terms of the words and the descriptors they used.
Oh, totally. So for this one, I mean, like either people will say it's love or it's about just sex in its own pure form. To me, when I'm listening to it, I hear a guy who certainly loves his woman, maybe, and he's articulating it in the best way that is most genuine to him. And I think that's sort of why I really came out of this becoming a fan of Shifty Shellshock. And I did not expect this. I listened to all his material. I can't say that I'm necessarily a fan overall of his music. I do find some of it a bit derivative, but he's genuine. And I'll take that over anyone who's fake any day.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on both parts. Both it's a bit derivative. There's way, way better artists in the same vein. BC Boys, I think, were kind of front and center on that genre.
Mm-hmm.
And but and there's ones that have lasted over the years as opposed to kind of one-hit wonders that have disappeared. But I think you're right. I think his lyrics are genuine. I think he's pretty upfront with, I mean, it's tough to put emotion that's not anger into a genre that's a lot of yelling and spitting words. So, yeah, I think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, and I think with his other partner, Epic, so he was also sort of came from a similar background. His dad was Billy Joel's former manager. So you've got these two guys who were influenced by the Beastie Boys. Actually, in one of those interviews that Shellshock said, he fell in love with the Beastie Boys when he was in Mexico for 2 months. That was when his family was moving from Boston to L.A., and then he wound up stealing. He stole the album, just stole the cassette and kept it, which is so perfect because right before they got famous, he was in jail for a bit he did time for a robbery, and it's one of those things like you wonder like why does somebody who didn't grow up poor necessarily go that way? Well, he was just a badass because he looks like he's a fake badass. He wasn't. That was just what appealed to him for reasons that he can't even explain to this day. That was just what called him. I mean, even before Butterfly hit, Crazy Town landed on the Ozfest schedule or tour in 2000. So and they got kicked out of that because
2001.
Was it 2001?
Oh no, they were on the 2000 tour, but they didn't actually tour because he got drunk and threw a chair out a window.
Yeah.
And then they got on the tour in 2001.
Which just kind of makes you wonder, like, what the hell do you have to do to get kicked out of Ozzy's tour?
Yeah, really.
But, I mean, I guess Sharon's there, but you get to see Ozzy there, like, who's Sharon? He probably had no clue what the hell was around him. Kind of like the Democratic nominee. But that's another story for another time. So also too, his dad did the album cover. Did you see the album cover for that first album, like Shifty's dad?
Yeah, it's good. I like the artwork.
Yeah, I do too. It sort of it really sums up, I think, what that band really is. I mean, you're going for a bit of a provocative yet alternative, yet you're pushing a boundary because the woman in the artwork kind of looks young, but I mean, like
she looks young. She's, it's very, very much 1990s. The devil and angel imagery and the tribal tattoo, and it's everything about it just sort of screams 1999.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like things that my friends would have been doodling on their textbooks. But it also is kind of reminiscent if you think current day of like the what's her name?
Harley Quinn?
Harley Quinn, yes. Yeah, like the current day depictions of Harley Quinn is just bringing that to mind. Maybe it's the pigtails and the lollipop, but that's sort of that's the impression that I get.
Mm-hmm. I got a side note on this. You know the song "Will Make My Wife Scared"?
Mm-hmm.
No, she's afraid of butterflies.
Oh,
dead serious.
interesting.
Yeah. My killer wife is afraid of butterflies.
Your wife is very tough. How is I don't understand this fear.
Neither do I.
Are there? No, she's not Filipino. She's
Indonesian.
What? Yeah. Are there like killer butterflies in Indonesia? Like, what's going on with that? There must be some traumatic experience of like a giant butterfly landing on her face as an infant or something.
Something about having to dissect them in school or something.
Oh, that would do it. Yeah, I could see that. Also, they're weird because they're like caterpillars, and then they end up in a cocoon, and then they come out as butterflies, and they literally turn to mush. Like, they completely dissolve and then turn into a new being. Like, that's just not right.
No, it's sort of like a pawn turning into a queen right at the end. I always imagine that's really painful if you make it all the way in a chessboard. Like, wouldn't that kind of hurt? I mean, yeah, now you're super powerful, but I mean, like, Jesus Christ, that moment where you just sort of like your whole body transforms. I don't know why I thought of that. And then again, this is me completely sober, so go figure. I think sort of like going back to the song. Look at me segue back. Holy crap! Usually it's you who has to rein me in. The song itself became sort of a victim of their own success. So much, and this is such a pattern. You've got a hit, and that's sort of what made them. But nothing else they ever put out, with the exception of Starry-Eyed Surprise, which was just Shifty's work with Paul Oakenfold. Or Fold, sorry. Just nothing else was going to stick. And it wasn't that there wasn't a hit on the mainstream. It wasn't a hit anywhere. Nothing else they ever did. Like, not on an alt chart,
they had
nothing.
a few songs from their second album that kind of were marginally popular, but they really, nothing else really stuck.
So some of the band members, they would move on. Well, so DJ AM, so he died when he was probably considered, like in retrospect, probably that's the most talented one of the group. Would you agree?
I don't know. James Bradley was the drummer for, now I'm totally blanking. Jazz saxophonist, really well known. Anyway, so he had a pretty darn good career himself.
That's true.
But I think the whole thing is, it's tough to say who was most successful. But yeah, you're probably right with like commercial success.
And I think also too because he died in that crash with Blink 182, I believe, in 2008. So I think he was the only one who perished in that. I know Travis Barker was badly hurt in that accident. And it just, I guess, like I've always said, I think like really everyone says, you want to really grow your career, die.
That's true.
It's the best career move ever.
He died in 2008. And, it sounds horrible to say, but with musicians or any sort of famous people, it's just nice, not nicer, but when you hear that they die young, you always are worried that it was drugs or some sort of an overdose or something stupid. So the fact that it was actually a tragedy makes it a little bit easier to deal with.
Right, and he is one of those people who could have, because he was certainly on that path. He had, I don't know, he was probably neck and neck with Shifty in terms of, overdoses, accidental overdoses here and there. It's
rehab, another rehab, just constant.
Mm-hmm. So when the band broke up, and basically according from what I found out, they broke up mainly because they couldn't replicate Butterfly, nor did they want to. So the label wants them to sort of go one way. Whether they could even replicate it or not, they might. Who knows if they could? It's that lightning in a bottle, perfect riff. Got permission to use that riff, and just ran with it.
And it probably was them sitting around stoned one night, and Pretty Little Ditty comes on, and he just starts riffing to it. It's probably one of those silly things that just came out of nothing, and as you said, was lightning in a bottle, just turned into something magical. And then, but you can't, if you tried to recreate it, it would just come up as trite. It wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be good because it would just be obviously trying to recreate a one-off, one-hit wonder.
Which is kind of what we saw when we first covered Stars on 45. You're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And, to their credit, they didn't want to do it. And Shifty thought he was going to have a decent solo career, so he put out one album. Did you listen to his solo album?
A little bit of it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so the song that he did with Paul Oakenfold was on that, Starry-Eyed Surprise. But the way he explained it, it was just another he had some good timing before, but this is just some bad timing that happened. He was signed to Madonna's record label, Maverick, that was having their own problems with Warner Brothers. I couldn't figure out exactly whether Maverick was a subsidiary at that point. I guess they must have been, because at one point, the week before they were about to release his album, half of Maverick was gutted, including sort of the PR team. So when you don't have sort of that whole backing behind you, it certainly puts you in a deficit, and that's sort of what he felt.
It doesn't do you well for releasing an album. That's not in your favor.
Right. And so it wasn't that the album, I don't know that it was going to be that much more successful, whether it was there or not. A lot of it just didn't feel like he had a hit in there. But it's not a bad album. I mean, it's better reviewed than the first album from Crazy Town. Yeah,
I don't have any problem actually with most of his music. I find it's, for the most part, not difficult to listen to. It's genuine. It's not great, but it's not bad. And it really comes down to the just fickle nature of popularity. Because there's some shittier stuff that was very popular during that time.
But at the same time, though, when I was looking at the 2001 list of number ones, oh my God, some of those artists are still crazily relevant today.
Mm-hmm.
So who went number one? Destiny's Child. So Beyonce is obviously still on top of the world now. Outkast doesn't perform anymore, but their legacy is secure. Janet Jackson, Usher, Alicia Keys, J-Lo, Mary J. Blige, and Nickelback. Whamp, whamp.
I saw a meme today that was, and I don't know, I'm sure it was faked, but it was a Nickelback tweet that said, "And you thought 2020 was as bad as it could get. Guess what? We're releasing another album."
You know what? They are self-aware.
Yeah, they are. And that's why I was like, it actually could be a real tweet, or it might be totally made up, but either way, it's hilarious.
It is, yeah. Nickelback, and eventually we might get into one day. I'll never understand their massive appeal. I also don't understand the complete hatred.
Yeah, you know what? They were great for a period, and then they never progressed. And that's my only issue with them, is they're still putting out the same shit they put out 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's not bad. It's just people hate what they're told to hate. And when it's popular to hate something, they're going to hate it.
Yeah, it's rock and roll elevator music to me. I mean, it's there.
Pretty much.
It's not in my face. It's just there. I don't hate it. I don't like it. I don't understand why some people are obsessed with it. I used to have someone who worked for me who she got a Nickelback tattoo. Okay.
Was it a nickel on her back?
That would have been better. No, it was just like luckily, it was really well done. It was just like an N and a B and some ivy around it and shit. I mean, it wasn't super creative, but it didn't look like crap.
Still weird, though.
Yeah. So for Shifty, things didn't really go well. You know, like you were mentioning, after the success of that song, Dr. Drew became his friend. He was in and out of rehab. I found like not an infamous, but like him just getting kicked out of a club in 2011 and just looking ragged as all hell. Like if we would have put the Deadpool together, he would have been like a 7th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
But here he is now, still performing. Recent album, I think they're calling themselves Crazy Town X. He's the only original member still left. So they got into a massive car accident near your old stomping ground, Sudbury. You from northern?
Not my stomping ground.
I thought you're from Northern Ontario.
No, I'm from BC.
Okay, I will not.
I'm a BC girl, born and raised, mostly.
I'm confusing you with somebody else.
In Maine, in the States. What? No, not. I'm not Ontario.
Well, you could have just let me have that.
Sorry.
All right, so somewhere near
stomping grounds, somewhere in Canada.
All right. Well, you know who stomped there? Stomp and Tom Connors on a Sudbury Saturday night. Yes, I segued my way out of it.
I've been everywhere. Yeah, I've been everywhere.
And for those non-Canadians listening, look up Stompin' Tom. He's a Canadian icon. You'll wonder how the hell is he popular in Canada? Well, he is.
He's a national treasure.
He was.
Hello up there, we're on the air. It's hockey night tonight.
Yeah, so Shifty and his band, they crashed into a moose. Not in their tour bus, in their tour van.
Doesn't get more Canadian way to go than that.
Well, I mean, he lived.
Well, yeah, but still.
Yeah, but that would be a pretty Canadian way to go. That's actually how former pro wrestler Adorable Adrian Adonis died.
In a tour bus that hit a moose?
In a tour, in a van with a bunch of other wrestlers trying to avoid a moose.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Moose 1, Adorable Adrian nothing.
Usually that's how it goes.
Sad but true.
If anyone has ever seen a moose, they're about the size of a tank. So cars don't usually win against them.
No, they do not. I got whacked by a deer, and that left about $3,000 in damage.
Yep.
So I can just imagine what a moose would do. But he's still performing, and the one great thing when I saw these interviews from Shifty, you know, when you've got that one big hit, and every interview someone's going to bring that up. Everyone brings it up, and he says, "You know what? Yeah, it was a great song for me. Loved it." He's not bitter about that being his
not reliving it constantly.
No, I mean, he says, like, yeah, that's my hit. Absolutely. And it was a great song, and here's how I came up with it. You know, it's fantastic. He's not being one of those people who went, oh, yes, I've got to tell the story again. No, he says he knows what he is. And I think that's sort of why I came to really like this guy. Just like a genuine guy who's clean now, and he looks pretty good considering what he's been through. He's got a bit of that dad bod that helps that natural Botox. That's sort of like why I don't have a whole lot of wrinkles right now. I think it kind of helps.
I thought you were going to say that's why you keep the dad bod so you keep looking young.
Well, that, and it's just I will never, ever, ever exercise more than one day in a row. I always say, this is going to be the day, and it is. And then there's never a second day.
This is the day. Seize the day. And then don't.
Or then when I do that day, it's like, damn, you know what? I've earned that 12-pack.
Who needs a 6-pack when you can have a keg?
Well, then you could have the 12-pack of those tall boys that I always used to pick up. Can't find them here.
Oh,
God
yeah.
damn it. Jesus.
No Tusker? Tusker was your favorite beer, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tusker was my Kenyan go-to beer at because that place, Liquor Lodge, would always sort of like do my special orders. But down here, it's like the same 4 beers over and over. And the bottles are 250 milliliters. Like the first time I saw it, like, what the hell is this?
That's half a beer.
Yeah, exactly. It's half a beer.
It's half a pint. I don't want a half pint. I want a whole pint.
The only half pint that works is Laura Ingalls and Little House on the Prairie. And why the hell do I remember that? Jesus Christ, Buchner.
So back on topic.
Mm-hmm. So I think... Go ahead, yeah. Because I got a question for you.
Oh, no. I didn't really have anything to say. I was just trying to bullshit something. So what were you saying?
Well, some of the songs we've talked about, or the last 3 songs that we talked about, I think could only have been a hit in a certain small, short time period. Butterfly, if that came out today, possibly could do well. I think it would be
popular today.
Yeah. I mean, if it was a brand new song, I don't think the musical styles have necessarily changed all that much, and maybe that's my age showing, but I don't think I'm wrong on that.
I've found that the style, that rap rock, has come back around. Mm-hmm. Like, you didn't hear it for a while, but we're having more, there seems to be some more of it reemerging. I'm trying to think of someone more recent. Oh, what's his name? The douche with all the tattoos.
That really narrows it down.
So many of them. But, I mean, I don't think there was, for a long time, there wasn't any new ones, but then the popular ones never really went away. Like Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, Beastie Boys, Chili Peppers. They've never, Cypress Hill. Like, maybe it's just me and I'm old and I enjoy those bands, but they've never lost relevance. And then now you're getting, trying to think, I'll have a name in a second.
Yeah, well, while you're thinking of that, I mean, I think because hip hop has remained successful, and that's really what the group of Crazy Town really feels they're more influenced by. It does work,
and that's
today. But yeah, go ahead.
No, it's hip hop with that a little bit aggro kind of rock rap. It's an interesting combination, really. Mm-hmm. And I think that because it's such a crossover, it really still appeals to a broad range of music fans. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, after this, I became a fan, not so much of Crazy Town, but of Shifty. I never thought I'd be a fan of this guy. I'm cheering for you, buddy. I hope you're always making music and just content, because he looks happy, and that's all that matters.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. So you said you've got a gem for me for us next week. What do you got?
Well, we've really been talking about one-hit wonders and, kind of one-offs. Mm-hmm. The song that I want to look into is also, I think, something that would stand the test of time. Classic voice, excellent song, Sinead O'Connor,
Ooh.
Nothing Compares to You.
Ooh, I like this.
Right?
I like
There's
it.
There's a lot going on with this.
Oh my God, yeah. Technically a one-hit wonder, but I don't feel that way. Maybe because I'm a fan of some of her previous work, but yes.
Sinead O'Connor's come out with a lot of good work, mm-hmm. and her voice speaks for itself. And this podcast isn't about one-hit wonders. It's about number one hits.
Yes.
So I don't feel that bringing in something that isn't really a one-hit wonder is against the rules.
There are no rules. Just go to number one, and then it qualifies.
Exactly. and it made number one for a pretty sustained period of time. So I thought we'd go against the grain with, instead of something poppy, something a bit more serious, and see what happens.
I love it. I'm going to have a lot of fun with that one.
So, same bat time, same bat channel?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, thank you so much, Andrea, and stay safe.
Have a good week, Kirk.
Thank you so much for listening. Look for new content regularly from us at NotInHallOfFame.com. Stay safe, everyone.